My name is Paul Luna, and you're tuned into F&B Lunacy. I am here today with Chef Rudy Keefer. Chef, tell us about yourself.
I started out as a dishwasher in an Austrian restaurant in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And that chef was the kind of chef where if you're the dishwasher, you get paid more than other dishwashers in other restaurants, which is why I went to work there because I wanted money for like musical equipment and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, you have to cut potatoes, cut parsley, peel potatoes, make spatzel, stuff like that, like little kitchen tasks. And I liked that kind of work. I just immediately liked it. And the whole from scratch kitchen thing, just like I was hooked because of Gerhard Grammar in Spartanburg, South Carolina. I went to culinary school, and my chef at culinary school was like, "You really should go work at a French place." And he told me I was his best, hardest working student, and he said you should go work at a French place. I look all over for French places, and I ended up in Atlanta because of it. I came here for Brasserie Le Cause, and I worked for Jean-Luc Mongadin, and he liked me, even though he probably should have fired me multiple times because he said I cared about what I did, and he kept me around, and we ended up working together at the Ritz Carlton for a little bit too. Um, I did. I started doing like stages to like learn about other types of food because I was just cooking French food with Jean Luc. And anyway, I had done a stage with a guy from Bergamo named Nello, and his restaurant's called Bergamo in Greenville, South Carolina. And I liked his cooking, and I liked the fact that like when you work at an Italian-owned Italian restaurant, the chef is cooking with you. He's not standing in front of the line going, "You do this, you do that, you do this." He's like cooking with you, and it's like, "Hey, let's get this done." And that like you might get yelled at, but that attitude of "let's get this done," let's this it's like this camaraderie that was there that like I was like I like this a lot better. And I I I ended up working for a minute at Anticaposa, and Alessandro, the chef there, he's amazing, but like he's that same way. And it was just like I've worked with Nello, and then I worked with Alessandro, and I'm like, yeah, it's definitely there's something with this Italian thing. And the first times I ever made pasta were at Anticaposa, and I liked it. I really like pasta, and I just ended up trying to make pasta my whole career after that, and I ended up in Birmingham working at the Hot and Hot Fish Club, which is like American farm to table. But on Mondays, I would stage at Bottega and make pasta with their pasta guy, and I really got hooked then.
Do you have a business making pasta?
Um, I make pasta. That's what I do. I own a business called Tapisa. I want it someday to be a restaurant. My plan, I'd stepped down from being a sous chef to taking a line cook job before the pandemic. And I was going to do a series of pop ups at the Spindle and their little kitchen space. And I was looking at doing other pop ups. And the whole point of this was just like I would make pasta, bring my pasta, cook antipasto, pasta, and a dessert, and just like offer a little prefix, and just kind of try to get the word out, and hopefully find somebody that be like, "Hey, maybe you should run my restaurant."
What kind of pastas have become your sort of like forte or signature?
I don't do big batches of them, but when the sun gold tomatoes from Tucker Farms are available, I do Loriquitas, and it's kind of like a little braid, little circle braid kind of thing. But that with the sun gold tomatoes and a little pecorino romano and basil, just those four ingredients, it's so powerful. And that's I think the best one I've done so far.
Are you currently making pasta for consumers?
I'm making is like what I've done is like I've mise en place it out. Make it so that it's like if you're not a chef, you can heat up and cook this fresh pasta and have this beautiful pasta meal without having to have my experience. So basically, I am a prep cook for everybody.
So if I understand correctly, you have, let's say, a kit with pasta in it, or is it just, let's say, sauces available without the pasta?
With the pasta.
With
basically, I own a Arcobaleno pasta extruder.
Yes.
And I fresh extrude the pasta usually within 24 hours of the order. So it's like really fresh. I just dry it just enough so it doesn't stick together. And I have that in a container. And because it's so fresh, it only takes 4 minutes to boil it. I have the sauce and then usually some herbs. I like when you're at a pho restaurant and you're picking the herbs and stuff. I like that part. And I think like that works with Italian food too. If you have the appropriate herb, you can just pick the herb and put it on your pasta. And I have grated cheese too.
Fill in the blank. Cooking is
everything and anything you want it to be.
This is an off-the-wall question. To play with yourself, what does that mean to you?
It can mean a lot of things, but to take this in the most Puritan way, I think to play with yourself, like you can think mentally, like you can like think of how I can feel a void. Like honestly, what I'm doing right now started with my Instagram. I was just playing with food. And people were like, "Oh, I want that." And I was like, "Okay, I'll sell it to you." And it's like I played with myself mentally. I flexed my head and I found a way to monetize my talent and get through a pandemic.
Is there anything in particular that you would like to say that's important to you?
Give people a chance. Have faith in people. Well, one thing I've learned as a manager in restaurants, the biggest problem in restaurants these days is people no longer have faith in other people. They no longer have good faith in people. They no longer believe that people want to do well. I know that when somebody works for me, they want to do a good job. Everybody wants to do a good job. Your job as a chef is not to criticize them for doing a bad job. It's to aid them to do a good job, to give them what you have to help them do a good job, and have faith that they want to do a good job that they'll be proud of.
Let's talk about cycling for a moment. This is one of your hobbies. This is how you keep sane.
Yeah, it's how I keep sane, and it's also how I keep from burning out.
Is there anything in particular that turns you on about food and cooking?
Anything from scratch. Like, I like making cheeses. I like making pasta. I like the process of making food. And like, I feel like being a good cook, the more tied into the food you're making, the better you are and the more control you have over it. Like making pasta from scratch, making cheeses from scratch, stuff like that. That's what I like.
Your management style in front of the house and the back of the house, how was that like?
Um, Honestly, front of the house, I really think that like all servers, good servers want to make money. All you have to do is equip them to make money. You, as a chef, you have to have marketable food. It 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 sucks, but it's like that's what it comes down to. I've worked for chefs that were like big genius guy that comes up with amazing dishes that like other chefs have a boner for it. They're like, "Ooh, that's sexy," and but when it comes down to it, the customers are like, "What the fuck is that? I don't want to eat that. $40 for that? No." And the server can't make any money off that. The cooks don't make any money off that type of cooking. And I personally just, it's got to be, you got to have, no matter what, you have to have food that sells. Otherwise, you're not sustainable.
Chef Rudy, do you consider yourself a lunatic?
Yeah. I wouldn't be, I wouldn't, I wouldn't be a pasta dealer because I'm not really a chef right now. I'm kind of a drug dealer, but instead of drugs, I sell pasta.